Energy production or metabolism, or in short, how to have metab, which means is how do you produce energy constantly throughout the day and not be tired during the midday? How do you do that? What happens to the body, and what is a natural way of looking at it? I've researched it, and I'm sharing with you what I found out on how to actually maintain your energy levels at a high level and never get tired during the day, and only fall asleep when you're tired and wake up with energy. If this is something you'd like to have, and if you're experiencing slumps in energy, or you need power naps because your energy levels have dropped, stay with me. Let me give you an insight of what to do and give you that idea that it's actually possible to handle it. And no matter what your situation is now, there is a way to handle it. And let me give you this information that I have discovered and I'm sharing with you. So I'm Alan Monitz, nutrition expert, and I help people restore their health with nutrition and with supplements. So first thing is, let me give you a little bit of a description of this word called mitochondria. You might have heard it before. Let me clarify it. Mitochondria is a little, it's found in the cells, inside your body cells, and it's called an energy factory. This is the cell. It's a small cell inside the cell which actually creates energy in your body, because your body needs a form of energy. Where does energy come from? It comes from sugar, fat, or ketones, but it has to be converted to another form called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. This ATP is your fuel storage. This is where your fuel is stored. It's your fuel tank. Your tank is not the sugar. The sugar has to turn to ATP. When you've got sufficient ATP, you have an abundance of energy. So what tends to happen is while you run out of energy, you've actually run out of ATP. You can be eating a lot of food with sugar, fat, and all that, but you're tired. I'm sure you've experienced that, or you've seen other people experience it. Why is that? It's because their fuel reserve, the ATP reserve, is depleted. So you have to constantly replenish it. It's the same thing as a brand new phone. When you have a brand new phone, you charge the battery of your phone, and your battery stays charged for 2 days before you recharge it. And as your phone gets older, now you have to recharge it to full 2 or 3 times a day, and it doesn't hold the charge. So what it means is your body is not holding your own charge, so your charge is the ATP. So the trick here, the subject of this video, is how do you build ATP? How do you bring your reserves back to as you had when you were in your 20s? When you were in your 20s and 30s, you had an abundance of energy. Why? It's because you had an abundance of ATP. So what happened? How did your ATP decline so that by the time you're 50 or 60 or 70, you have no energy or you wake up tired? What is it? So stay with me. I will explain to you. So let me give a little bit of a description here. So this is a cell, and inside the cell, you've got thousands, millions, of mitochondria. So this is the blood vessel. So comes the blood, and in the blood, you'll have, let's say, insulin here, which carries glucose. So it's transporting glucose. So the insulin arrives and it has to dock here. There's a docking site. So it drops it here, and then the glucose enters the cell. And then it has to travel to the mitochondria. Right. And also, you need to transport fat. Fat is your better source of energy because fat releases a large amount of energy when it goes into the cell. So fat also has to arrive here, has to be transported and enter the cell. Now, there's a problem that can happen. What you call is insulin resistance. What is insulin resistance? Is that docking site here, for the insulin to release the sugar, that docking site is closed. Why is it closed? Is because between your cells, there is a lot of toxins there. So what those toxins do, it actually tells the cell there's too much toxins here, close. So which means the insulin arrives with the sugar and it stays in the blood. So now your blood sugar goes up because the sugar has not arrived, has not been able to travel through the dock because the dock is closed. So that's another thing that you need to do. You need to clean up all of this junk and throw it out and detox. This is called a detox. So you need to do some form of detox to remove all of this dirt, all of this, it's called metabolic waste, all this waste which is toxic, which hasn't been removed. And when it's removed, then your body will actually start opening up your docking sites, and it will allow the glucose and it will allow the fat to enter the cells. All right, so let's say you've solved that now, and the fat or the glucose or the ketones are entering, so they enter. So now they need to be transported from here to there. So you've got the entry of the cell here. So transport from the dock to the mitochondria. You've got a vitamin. This is the importance of vitamins, like this one, vitamin B2, carries the glucose and the oxygen, and carries the oxygen as well. So you've got to have oxygen also arriving there. So it's glucose, fat, and oxygen. Now they've arrived here now. Now they've arrived in the mitochondria. Now inside the mitochondria, there's a biochemical process which is going to do now, it's going to convert the glucose and the fat or ketones into ATP. This ATP. This is what you're looking for. You're looking for an abundance of ATP. So if you've got a large number of mitochondria, what do you think is going to happen? So the more mitochondria you have, the more ATP is made. The more ATP is made. The more mitochondria, the more ATP. So if your supply is open, it can be transported, you have an abundance of ATP. So when you have an abundance of ATP, you have an abundance of energy. Your brain is going to use ATP, your muscles use ATP, your digestive systems use ATP. That's the form of fuel that your body uses, is the ATP. So when you have an abundance of it, you are never short of energy. So the biochemical process that happens to make ATP, you need vitamin B1, vitamin B3, which is niacin, and potassium. So those help with the biochemical process to create ATP. Now, you might have heard of methylene blue. What does methylene blue do? This is where it comes in. Methylene blue comes in here to help the process of the biochemical process. So if the biochemical process during this is 5 steps, 1 or 2 steps get corrupted, methylene blue helps to uncorrupt that and bypasses the system. So this is where it helps. So as long as you've got lots of mitochondria and you've got some methylene blue, it helps. But if your mitochondria is in good order, you don't need it. So the use of supplement is just a form of a bypass, which gives some results, but it's not a permanent thing. Just to clarify this when somebody asks you about methylene blue with mitochondria. Now that you've got this process going, you need to do a lot of protection, which is from oxidation. If this chemical process, the biochemical process, does not happen well in the mitochondria, it can release what is called electrons, and this is called oxidative stress. And that oxidative stress now can go and damage other mitochondria. So now you start getting damaged mitochondria and the production of ATP. So now you've got a high ATP going, and then it starts declining now because of oxidation. So you need antioxidants, where you get from vitamin E, you get from glutathione. So you have to have antioxidants. You've heard about antioxidants. All it is that the oxidation that happens starts damaging the cells, and you start losing the number of mitochondria. So as you lose number of mitochondria, your ATP starts dropping. So when your ATP drops, what does it mean? Your fuel tank is dropping. You need to recharge. How do you recharge? You need to go and have a rest to recharge, or a power nap, so that you rebuild your ATP reserves. But if you don't have to do this and you protect your mitochondria, then there's going to be an abundance of them. Now, the body also has to be able to remove old and damaged mitochondria so that it replaces it. And lastly, the body has to be able to manufacture new mitochondria. So this is the trick. This is the purpose of this video, is that you need mitochondria. So first of all, you've got to protect it. You've got to allow the nutrients to arrive. And when you start building new mitochondria, you are going to start creating a condition which is going to be similar to as you were younger. So the more mitochondria you have, the more reserves of ATP can be made, and the more reserves you have, then you don't need power naps anymore. You can wake up in the morning fresh. You don't need coffee. What is the use of coffee and amphetamines? The use of coffee and amphetamines is to actually force the chemical process here. So you can't force the chemical process forever. Eventually, caffeine and amphetamines don't work, so your energy levels drop and the slumps become more and more regular, and you become more and more tired. So by the time you get older and older, your energy levels are so low that there's pretty much nothing much you can do. So this is not an ideal state. So I'm giving you an answer here. I'm giving you those 7 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, of what you can do to start rebuilding your mitochondria so that you can also end up with a high energy level. Doesn't matter what your age is, and your metabolism will be good, and you don't end up at lunchtime where you're tired and there's not much you can do and the energy levels are so low. I hope that has helped. I hope it's given you an insight as to what you can do to rebuild your energy, to rebuild your metabolism. I offer a free 30-minute health consultation. You can book a consultation with me. I will go over that with you. I have a channel. You can follow me in the channel. You can subscribe to my channel to get more health tips as I speak, and I'll find out more information and I'll share with you. Thank you for listening. I hope this has helped, and I look forward to meeting you and working with you.